A bipartisan antitrust investigation into big tech gets going on Capitol Hill today. A House Judiciary panel will hold a hearing looking at whether tech giants like Google and Facebook are contributing to the crushing of journalism. Joining us live from Capitol Hill is Jessica Smith. So, Jess, what can we expect from this hearing today?
Well, as you mentioned, this is part of House Judiciary's probe into whether these big tech companies hold monopoly power. And this first hearing is going to be about the relationship between the big tech companies and journalism. A Democratic aide tells me the reason the first hearing is focused on this topic is because there is bipartisan support for it. The ranking Republican on the House Judiciary Committee and the Democratic chairman of the antitrust panel have introduced a bill together called the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act, and that will give small publishers the ability to collectively negotiate with online platforms like Google and Facebook. Today, lawmakers are going to question industry experts and journalism groups about how Google and Facebook, other big tech platforms, have impacted their business. The CEO of the News Media Alliance is going to be testifying today, and I talked to him yesterday. He told me that basically these platforms are taking the content they want from journalists, from publishers, and they're not giving the journalists their cut of this. They're just taking what they want without paying for it. So he's pushing for this bill to move forward. He wants the ability to negotiate with these platforms. So we expect that bill to come up quite a bit today. The hearing is set to start at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so we'll be sure to keep you updated on how everything goes.
Now, the tech CEOs have gone before various congressional committees before, Jess. Are they going to perhaps go before this committee at some point?
That could happen. This is the first real antitrust investigation on Capitol Hill looking at big tech. We've seen other hearings about data privacy and those kind of issues. But yes, the chairman of the committee, Congressman Cicilline, has not been shy about saying that he will potentially, if need be, bring in these CEOs, subpoena documents, do whatever he needs to do to get the information that lawmakers want to see.
All right, we'll see if that ends up happening. Jess, thank you. Let's go to the panel for more on this. Joining us this morning, Rick Newman and Sabeel Marcellus of Yahoo Finance. Rick, it's really interesting that they focused on this specific issue at first, maybe because it's one of those they can kind of get their arms around. But they're still not regulating these companies as if they are media companies.
I think it's a total head scratcher, the focus of this hearing. This is not what everybody's been complaining about. They've been complaining about digital market share. President Trump complains that Google discriminates against conservative groups. Everybody suddenly hates Facebook. And yet this hearing is focused on the impact on journalism. I mean, that's a legitimate topic, but right. It's not new. I mean, this has been an issue for years, really, since the advent of these companies, and it just seems like it's a convoluted message.
What do you think, Sabeel?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way social media is viewing this is, you know what, now legacy media is just coming after us because we're the winners. We've been competitive. We figured out a way to really dominate in the market. They haven't, and now they're coming after us because they want a share of that revenue.
Well, it's a little more complicated than that, right? Because Facebook in particular is sort of invited various press outlets in to sort of partner with them,
yes,
and fund them, and then that went away. So,
right.
I mean, it's a little more complex than just we're kind of
there's also a problem.
Stronger.
There's also a problem
I agree with
here
you on that.
Putting all these companies under one umbrella. I mean, they're actually quite different. And the one that probably should produce the most angst is Facebook, because it is kind of a social media Goliath. I mean, I don't know if monopoly is the right word. I mean, there are competitors in the space, but we know about the problems that we've had with Facebook, with Face News, with the Russians, and so forth. I mean, it's a totally different business from Amazon, and that's a totally different business from Google. And then Apple, which is a hardware manufacturer, is yet another business altogether. So
right.
To me, you're kind of missing the point if you just group these all together and you say we need to take on or break up big tech. I think you need to look at each company and say, what exactly is the problem here? And it gets harder to answer what the exact problem is, because at least with Facebook and Google, their services are free.
And I think when it comes to like traditional media, to get back to that point of, you know, they're now struggling when they've tried to pivot to the internet, they're not making as much revenue as, for example, Google is with advertising. So I think that the problem is that a lot of them offered that content for free to Facebook, to Google. You know, as a reporter, I was also encouraged, give your articles for free, put it on Facebook. And they didn't think about a revenue stream. And I think that's what's come back to backfire. And now they're trying to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. And not very successfully in many cases.